Zara walked through the misty forest clearing. Her long pointed ears moved at every sound. The 3 small dragons followed behind her like loyal puppies. They were the last of their kind, just like her. The human settlement was visible now through the trees. Zara had watched them for weeks, seeing how they built their homes and grew their food. The humans had strange technology that could help her dragons survive. 5 cycles ago, her home planet was destroyed by the Great Darkness. Many elven families escaped, but her ship crashed on this planet Earth. She was the only survivor except for the 3 dragon eggs she managed to save. The smallest dragon, Spark, nudged her leg. He was hungry again. Zara smiled and patted his scaly head. The humans might kill us or worse, study us, she thought. But what choice do I have? My dragons need special food I cannot find. Here Zara gathered her courage and stepped out of the forest cover. The morning sun caught her silver hair, making it shine. The dragons huddled close to her long blue dress. A human female spotted her first. The woman dropped her water bucket and stared. "Hello, I mean no harm," Zara said, using the human language she had practiced. The universal translator in her ear helped her understand their words, but speaking was harder. More humans gathered. Some held tools that could be weapons. Zara stood tall, showing no fear. "My name is Zara. I am the last of my people. I seek shelter for myself and my dragons." An older woman with kind eyes stepped forward. The crowd parted for her. Linda Fisher. She said, "We don't get many visitors, especially not ones with pointed ears and baby dragons. The dragons are the last of their species." Zara explained. "They need special minerals to grow strong. Please, I can work, I can heal the sick with my knowledge." Linda looked at the frightened crowd, then back at Zara and her dragons. The smallest one, Spark, had crawled up to Zara's shoulder and was making soft chirping sounds. Something in Linda's face changed. She waved the others back. "This is Mary, my daughter," Linda said, pointing to a younger woman. "Come to my home. We can talk." There Zara's heart beat fast as she followed the humans. The other dragons, Ember and Frost, stayed close to her feet. Many humans watched from windows and doorways. Their faces showed fear and wonder. Linda's home was simple but warm. A fire burned in the stone fireplace. Zara felt relief as the dragons rushed toward the heat. They loved fire above all things. Mary brought warm drinks. The sweet liquid helped calm Zara's nerves. "You said you're the last of your kind?" Linda asked. "Yes." Zara nodded. "Our planet was destroyed. I was traveling with my family when our ship crashed. I was the only survivor." She touched the dragons' heads gently. "These eggs were all I could save." "How long have you been watching us?" Mary asked. 27 days. Zara admitted, "I needed to learn your ways before approaching." "I was afraid." Linda nodded, understanding. "You need a place to stay, food for your dragons, minerals." "Actually," Zara said, "they need specific elements to grow properly. I have the formula but not the means to create it." Mary leaned forward, suddenly interested. "I work in the science lab." She said, "Maybe I can help." "What elements do they need?" Hope flickered in Zara's heart for the first time in months. She pulled out her small data pad and showed them the formula. The next days were a blur. The human settlement leaders debated what to do with the alien visitor. Some wanted her gone. Others were curious about her healing abilities. Linda and Mary became her defenders. Mary worked tirelessly in the lab to create the mineral formula the dragons needed. They grew stronger each day. Word spread about the elf woman who could heal wounds with a touch. Humans from other settlements came to see her. Some brought gifts. Others just stared. Zara learned human customs quickly. She braided her long silver hair the way the human women did. She helped in the gardens. Her knowledge of plants amazed the farmers. Dragons became beloved pets. Spark would perform tricks for the children. Ember helped light the cooking fires. Frost, with his cool blue scales, would help preserve food during hot days. One night, as Zara sat with Linda by the fire, the older woman asked a question that changed everything. "What will you do when the dragons grow too large for our village?" Zara had avoided thinking about this. The dragons would eventually grow as big as houses. They would need more space, more food. I don't know, Zara. Admitted tears filled her eyes. For the first time since the crash, I feel safe here, but I know we cannot stay forever. Linda took Zara's slender hand in her rough one. What if I formally adopt you, she said. You could be my daughter by our laws that would give you rights protection. Zara looked up, shocked. The dragons chirped, sensing her emotion. You would do this. Why? Because everyone deserves a home. Linda said simply. And Mary adores those dragons. She says they're the most fascinating creatures she's ever studied. That night, Zara slept peacefully for the first time in years. Her dragons curled around her bed. The next morning, the adoption papers were signed. Word spread across the human territories. An elf woman and her dragons had become legal citizens. Some protested, but many more were curious, supportive even. The council leader, Susan, came to meet Zara personally. She was tall with gray hair and a stern face. We have rules about outsiders, she told Linda. But this is different. She studied Zara closely. There are stories in our old books about your kind, visitors from the stars with magic and knowledge. They are not just stories, Zara said quietly. There were many worlds with life before the darkness came. Many races traded shared knowledge. She looked down. The darkness destroyed it all. Susan nodded slowly. Then you are a refugee, the last of your kind. We have laws to protect such people. A week later, Zara stood before the entire settlement. The three dragons sat beside her, nervous at the crowd by the laws of Earth and the settlement of New Hope. I grant citizenship to Zara of the Elven people and her three dragon companions. Susan announced, These creatures are under our protection. Any who harm them will face exile. Zara bowed, her head in the elven way. Gratitude warmed her heart. She had found a safe place at last. That night, Linda held a celebration. Many humans came bringing food and gifts for Zara and the dragons. An old man gave her seeds from his garden. A young girl offered a handmade blanket for the dragons. You have given us hope, Zara told the humans. You have shown that kindness still exists in this universe. The dragons played with the human children while the adults talked and shared stories. Zara told them of her home world, the crystal forests, the floating cities, the dragons that once filled the skies. We will help you preserve these memories, Linda promised. We will record your stories so they are never lost. For the first time since the crash, Zara felt something beyond survival. She felt purpose. She would keep her people's memory alive through these kind humans. She would teach them elven wisdom in return for their protection. As the moons rose over the settlement, Zara looked up at the stars. Her home was gone, but perhaps here on this small blue planet she could build something new, something worthy of her ancestors' memory. 3 months passed since Zara found her new home with Linda and Mary. The dragons grew faster than expected. Spark was now the size of a large dog. Ember and Frost were even bigger. Their scales shimmered in sunlight, and they could now produce small bursts of their elemental powers. The humans had built a special barn for them behind Linda's house. It had a stone floor that could withstand fire and plenty of room for the growing creatures. Zara spent her mornings caring for the dragons and her afternoons in the medical center healing the sick. Mary had succeeded in creating the mineral supplement the dragons needed. She worked in the science lab, mixing rare earth elements with common minerals. The formula was simple once she understood the process. The dragons thrived on the supplement, growing stronger each week. One morning, Zara woke to a strange sound outside her window, a low rumbling that shook the glass. She looked out and gasped. Ember. The red dragon was hovering a few feet off the ground, his wings beating steadily, creating small whirlwinds in the dirt. He can fly, Zara whispered with joy. She rushed outside, still in her sleeping clothes. The other dragons watched their brother with jealous eyes. Zara clapped her hands. As Ember rose higher, circling the barn, his wings stretched wide, catching the morning light. The humans in nearby houses came out to watch. Some cheered, others looked worried. Linda joined Zara in the yard, a smile on her face. They grow so fast, she said, just like children. But the dragons flying created a new problem. The settlement leaders called an emergency meeting. That evening, Zara sat nervously in the council hall. The dragons waited outside, guarded by Mary Susan. The council leaders spoke. First, the dragons are now visible from miles away, she explained. We have reports from the northern settlement of strange flying creatures. They will send investigators. Zara felt fear grip her heart. The more humans who knew about them, the greater the danger. Some would want to capture the dragons or worse. We need to think of safety. Susan continued. Not just for the settlement, but for Zara and her dragons. A man stood up, his face angry. They should leave, he said. These creatures will bring trouble. They will attract attention from the military, from scientists. They will put us all at risk. Linda rose to defend Zara. The dragons are gentle, she argued. They have harmed no one. They help our community. Ember lights our forge. Frost keeps our food. Cold in summer, spark entertains our children. The argument continued for hours. Zara listened, feeling more alone with each angry word. Finally, Susan raised her hand for silence. She looked at Zara with serious eyes. We have a solution, she said. The mountains, to the east, have deep valleys, hidden caves. You could build a sanctuary there for the dragons, a place where they can fly freely without being seen. You would still be part of our community, but the dragons would have space to grow. Zara considered the proposal. The mountains were only a few hours' walk from the settlement she could visit daily. The dragons would have freedom room to fly, to hunt, to grow. I accept, she said softly. It is a wise plan. The next week, preparations began. Mary designed special shelters that could expand as the dragons grew. A team of builders volunteered to help construct them. Linda organized supplies, food, medicines, books for Zara. The whole settlement helped, even those who had feared the dragons. The children were sad to see Spark leave. They made drawings for Zara to hang in her new home. The day of departure arrived sooner than expected. Zara stood at the edge of the settlement, her few possessions packed. The dragons sensed her mixed emotions. They nuzzled her gently, their scales warm against her skin. Linda hugged Zara tightly. This is not goodbye, she said. This is just a new chapter. You are still my daughter. You will always have a home here. Mary wiped tears from her eyes. I will visit every week, she promised. I need to monitor the dragon's growth anyway. She smiled through her sadness. Susan presented Zara with a communication device. It will allow you to contact us anytime, she explained, and we can warn you if strangers approach the mountains. The journey took all day. The dragons walked beside Zara, occasionally testing their wings. The path grew steeper as they entered the mountain range. Trees gave way to rocky slopes. The air grew cooler. By sunset, they reached the hidden valley. It was more beautiful than Zara had imagined. A clear lake reflected the evening sky. Caves dotted the surrounding cliffs. Meadows of wild grass provided perfect landing areas for the dragons. The builders had worked hard. The main shelter was small but comfortable, with a sleeping area, a kitchen, and a study filled with books. A larger stone structure nearby would serve as the dragons' home as they grew. Zara felt a strange mixture of freedom and loneliness as she watched the sun set over her new home. The dragons explored excitedly, diving into the lake, testing the echoes in the caves. That night, as Zara lay in her new bed, she heard a sound that made her heart soar. Ember and Frost had joined their brother in flight, their wings beating in harmony as they circled the valley under the stars. It was worth everything to see them free. The next weeks established a routine. Zara rose with the sun to train the dragons. They were intelligent creatures, learning quickly to control their growing powers. She taught them to hunt fish from the lake, to carry messages to the settlement, to come when called. Mary visited twice a week, bringing supplies, news from the settlement, and the special mineral supplement. Other visitors came too. Linda spent every rest day with Zara. The children sometimes hiked up with their parents to see the dragons. The dragons grew rapidly. By the end of the second month in the mountain sanctuary, they were each the size of horses. Their wings stretched 20 feet from tip to tip. Their elemental powers grew stronger. Ember could create controlled fireballs. Frost could freeze the surface of the lake. Spark could generate electric currents that lit up the night sky. Zara documented everything in journals, recording their growth, their behaviors, their intelligence. She sent reports to the settlement science team, who marveled at the data one evening. As Zara sat by the lake watching the dragons soar overhead, she felt a strange vibration, a humming in the air that made her ears ring. The dragons felt it too. They landed beside her, alert, protective. The humming grew louder. Zara scanned the sky and saw it. A dark shape moving against the clouds, too large to be a bird, too structured to be a cloud. A ship, she whispered. Her. Heart racing, is it my people or is it something else? The ship hovered silently above the valley, larger than anything the humans had built. It was sleek with a metallic surface that reflected the setting sun. Zara felt her breath catch in her throat. It was an elven design. She recognized the curved wings, the crystal engines. The dragons sensed her excitement. They moved closer, protective yet curious. Spark chirped softly, a sound he made when nervous. Zara activated her communication device. Linda answered immediately, her voice concerned. A ship has arrived, Zara said, trying to keep her voice steady. It looks like one of my people's vessels. Be careful, Linda warned. We will send help. No, Zara replied. I need to see who they are first. If they are my people, they mean no harm. She ended the call and stepped into the open meadow. The dragons formed a triangle behind her, their massive bodies creating a wall of scales and muscle. The ship descended slowly, landing gently on the grassy field. A door opened in its side, sliding upward without a sound. Zara held her breath. A figure appeared in the doorway, tall, slender, with the unmistakable pointed ears of the elven people. The stranger wore a silver flight suit that caught the last rays of sunlight. Zara, of House Valen, the stranger's voice carried across the meadow. We have been searching for you. Zara stepped forward, her heart pounding. We thought all were lost, she called back. How did you find me? The stranger descended from the ship, followed by two others. They moved with the fluid grace of elvenkind. Their faces showed a mixture of relief and wonder, especially as they noticed the dragons. I am Lyra of House Solus. The first stranger said, We detected your dragon's energy signature. It is unique in this sector of space. She looked at the three dragons with awe. We believed all the royal dragons perished in the darkness. Royal dragons, Zara repeated, confused. They were just eggs I found in the crash. The last survivors. Lyra smiled and bowed deeply. Those are not just any dragons, she explained. They are royal guardians, bonded to the royal bloodline. She studied Zara's face. You truly did not know. The dragons moved closer to Zara, sensing her confusion. Ember, the largest, nudged her gently with his head, his scales hot against her skin. Lyra approached, slowly, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. The other elves remained by the ship, watching carefully. Your parents were of the royal guard, Lyra explained. They were tasked with protecting the last dragon eggs, should anything happen to the royal family. The eggs were to be saved above all else. Zara felt dizzy with this news. My parents never told me, she whispered. They said we were traveling to the outer colonies to protect you, Lyra said gently. The fewer who knew, the safer the eggs would be. She reached out toward Ember, who sniffed her hand cautiously. They are magnificent, the last of their kind, just as you are the last of the royal bloodline. The other elves approached now. Each bowed deeply to Zara and to the dragons. One of them, a male with silver streaks in his dark hair, spoke. I am Thorn of House Laren. He said I was your father's friend. We served together in the royal guard. He would be proud to see what you have accomplished. These dragons should have died without the sacred temples. Yet you have raised them to health with only primitive resources. Zara felt a surge of pride mixed with sadness. My human friends helped me, she said. They created the mineral supplement the dragons needed. They built this sanctuary that is so. Elves exchanged looks of surprise. Humans helped you? Lyra asked. They did not try to capture the dragons to study them. They protected us, Zara said firmly. They gave me citizenship. They adopted me into their family. She straightened her shoulders. I have promised to share elven knowledge with them in return. Thorn looked troubled. The humans are not ready for our technology, he said. They would misuse it. They always do. You do not know these humans, Zara argued. They are kind. They value knowledge. The third elf, who had remained silent, finally spoke. She was older than the others, with white hair and eyes that seemed to see through Zara. I am Saren of the High Council, she said. Our colony has debated what to do if we found survivors. We are few now. Less than 2,000 spread across 3 planets. She looked at the dragons, her expression softening. But these dragons change everything. They are our future. They must be protected. Zara felt fear grip her heart. You want to take them? She said, serene, shook her head. No, child. We want you to come with us. Bring the dragons to our new colony. They will have space to grow. Others of our kind, to protect them. Zara thought of Linda, of Mary, of the children who loved to watch the dragons fly. She thought of her promise to share knowledge, to be a bridge between worlds. I cannot abandon my human family, she said. They saved me. They saved the dragons. The elves were silent for a long moment. The ship hummed softly in the background. The dragons watched, alert, ready to defend Zara if needed. Finally, Lyra spoke. I understand loyalty. She said, it is an elven trait. But you must understand what these dragons mean. They are the key to rebuilding our civilization. Their magic, their wisdom, their connection to the ancient powers. Let me speak to my human family. Zara said, I need time. Saren nodded. We will remain here for 3 days, she said. Then we must return to the colony. Our presence cannot be hidden from human authorities for long. That night, Zara sat with the dragons, watching the elven ship glow softly in the moonlight. Her mind raced with conflicting thoughts. She belonged with her people, the last survivors of a dying race. Yet she had promised Linda she would stay. She had found acceptance. Among the humans, friendship, even love. The dragons sensed her turmoil. They curled around her, their massive bodies warm in the cool night air. Spark rested his head in her lap, his scales glittering with electrical energy. What should I do? Zara whispered. To them, Ember, the wisest of the 3, looked toward the settlement, his eyes glowing in the darkness. Then he looked to the elven ship, then back to Zara. He made a soft rumbling sound deep in his chest. Why must I choose? Zara said, suddenly understanding. Why cannot both worlds come together? The next morning, Linda and Mary arrived at the sanctuary. Susan and several council members followed behind. They approached the elven ship with caution, but also wonder. Zara met them at the edge of the meadow. The dragons by her side. The elves stood by their ship watching. These are my human family, Zara told the elves. They wish to meet you, and these, Zara said to the humans, are my people. They have survived the darkness. They have built a new colony. Lyra stepped forward first, extending her hand in the human way. Linda took it without hesitation. The meeting between humans and elves began awkwardly. Both sides were cautious. Susan, the council leader, asked many questions about the elven colony, their technology, their intentions. Saren, the elder elf, answered honestly, but carefully. We seek only to reconnect with our lost child, Saren explained, and to ensure the dragon's safety. They are precious beyond measure. The last of their kind, Linda stood protective beside Zara. Zara is my daughter now, she said firmly. By our laws and by my heart, the dragons are under our protection. The tension grew until Mary, always practical, suggested they share a meal. She had brought food from the settlement, fresh bread, cheese, fruits. The elves brought strange fruits from their ship and a sweet drink that sparkled in the sunlight as they ate. The mood lightened. The dragons performed tricks for their audience, Spark creating small lightning shows between his claws, Frost forming ice sculptures in the air, Ember writing words in fire that quickly vanished. Elves were amazed at how well-trained the dragons were, how bonded to Zara in the old times. Thorn explained dragons bonded with only one elf for life. They chose their companions based on spiritual connection. He looked at Zara with new respect. These three have chosen you. I saved them, Zara said simply. I hatched them, I fed them when they were small. I sang to them in the ancient language, though I barely remembered the words. Thorn nodded. That language is magic to dragons, he said. It awakens. Their intelligence. By afternoon, the two groups were talking more freely. The humans were fascinated by stories of the elven homeworld. The elves were curious about human technology, which was primitive but resourceful. Zara watched it all with growing hope. Perhaps there could be a middle path. As the sun began to set, Seren approached Zara privately. The elder elf looked tired, but her eyes were kind. I see your dilemma, child, she said. You have two families now. Two loyalties. Zara nodded, feeling tears. Threatened, I cannot choose, she admitted. I love my human family, but I also yearn to be with my own kind, to see our culture survive. Seren looked toward the dragons now playing with the human children and with Lyra, who seemed enchanted by them. Perhaps you do not have to choose, she said, her voice low. Perhaps there is another way. She paused, thinking deeply. The colony needs contact with Earth anyway. We need resources. Minerals that are rare on our new world. What are you suggesting? Zara asked, hope rising in her heart. An embassy, Seren said simply. You would be our ambassador to Earth. The dragons would remain with you. But you would also be connected to our colony, free to visit whenever you wish. She smiled. A bridge between worlds. The next day, the humans and elves formalized the agreement. Zara would remain on Earth with her dragons. She would be the official elven ambassador. The mountain sanctuary would become the elven embassy, a place where both species could meet and exchange knowledge. The elves would provide limited technology to the humans, mostly medical advancements and agricultural improvements, nothing that could be weaponized. The humans would provide the elves with raw materials and a safe haven, should they need it. Linda was overjoyed that Zara would stay. Mary was excited about the scientific exchange. Susan was pleased that the settlement would benefit from elven knowledge. 3 more elven ships arrived over the next month, bringing materials to expand the sanctuary. Engineers, both human and elven, worked together to build a proper embassy. A grand hall for meetings, living quarters for visiting elves, a massive habitat for the growing dragons. The dragons continued to thrive under guidance from Thorn, who knew the old training methods. They developed their abilities further. Ember could now create and control large firestorms. Frost could freeze an entire lake in seconds. Spark could generate enough electricity to power the entire sanctuary. Humans from distant settlements came to see the wonders of the elven embassy. Most were welcomed. Some with darker intentions were turned away. The dragons could sense ill will. They served as both guardians and ambassadors in their own right. 6 months after the elves' arrival, Zara stood on the highest cliff of the mountain sanctuary, watching her dragons soar through the clouds. They were massive now, each nearly 40 feet from nose to tail. Their wingspans cast shadows over the entire valley. They were majestic creatures from legend come to life. Lyra joined her on the cliff. The elven pilot had become a close friend, choosing to remain on Earth rather than return to the colony. They are magnificent, Lyra said, watching the dragons perform aerial acrobatics. You have done what none thought possible. You have restored hope to our people. Zara smiled. But it was the humans who made it possible, she said. Without Linda and Mary, the dragons would have died. Their science saved them. Lyra nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson in all of this, she said. We believed humans were primitive, dangerous, but they surprised us with their compassion, their ingenuity. She looked at Zara. Their capacity for love. That evening, a celebration was held in the great hall. Humans and elves gathered to mark the first half-year of the alliance. The dragons perched on the specially built ledges around the hall, their eyes bright with intelligence. Susan spoke of the benefits the settlement had already received from elven healing arts. Crop yields had doubled, disease had decreased, trade with other settlements had increased as word spread of their new allies. Seren spoke of how the colony had prospered with the raw materials from Earth, how young elves were learning human languages, how cultural exchange had enriched both societies. Linda spoke last, her voice thick with emotion. She told of finding Zara at the edge of the forest. That day changed everything, she said. We learned we were not alone in the universe. We learned that family can cross the stars. Later, as the celebration continued, Zara slipped away. She climbed to her favorite spot above the valley. The dragons followed, settling around her, their bodies warm against the night chill. She looked up at the stars. Somewhere among them was her original home, now destroyed. But here on Earth she had found something precious, something worth protecting. A noise made her turn. Linda climbed up the path, her breath heavy from the exertion. I thought I might find you here, she said, sitting beside Zara. You always come here when you need to. Think, Zara smiled. I was thinking about home, she admitted, about what that word means. Now, Linda took her hand. For me, home is where my daughters are, she said simply. Both, my human daughter and my elven one. Zara leaned against her adoptive mother, grateful beyond words. From the valley below came the sounds of music, human and elven voices raised in harmony. The embassy glowed with lights. A beacon in the darkness, the dragons hummed contentedly. Ember raised his massive head to the stars and released a stream of fire that lit the night. Frost and Spark joined him, creating a spectacular display of elements. Fire, ice, and lightning dancing together. Did you ever imagine this? Linda asked, watching the display. When you crashed here all alone. Never, Zara admitted. But then I never imagined finding a new mother either. She squeezed Linda's hand. The universe has strange ways of healing what was broken. In the embassy below, elves and humans danced together. Two species learning each other's steps. Two civilizations finding common ground. In the sky above, the dragons continued their elemental dance, a symbol of what was possible when fear gave way to understanding. 5 years passed since the elves first arrived. The dragon sanctuary had grown into a thriving community. Humans and elves lived and worked together, sharing knowledge and culture. The dragons, now fully grown, were a wonder to behold. Each was the size of a small house. Their scales gleamed like jewels in the sunlight. Their wings created windstorms when they took flight. Zara had grown too, not in size but in wisdom and confidence. She moved between worlds with ease, speaking at human councils, one day teaching elven history to children, the next. The dragons followed her everywhere, their loyalty unwavering. Linda, now in her 60s, had moved to the sanctuary permanently. She oversaw the human side of the embassy. Mary led a team of scientists who studied the dragons. Their findings revolutionized human understanding of biology. News of the elven embassy had spread worldwide. Human leaders from distant lands came to establish relations. Some brought gifts, others brought offers of trade. A few brought threats, but those quickly faded when they saw the dragons. One spring morning, Zara woke to an unusual sound, a deep vibration that made the sanctuary tremble. The dragons sensed it too. They called to each other in their ancient language, a series of musical notes that humans could barely hear. Something comes, Ember communicated to Zara. Their mental bond had strengthened over the years, allowing a form of silent speech. Thorn had taught her to develop this skill. Something from beyond Zara rushed outside. The sky was clear except for a strange shimmer like heat above desert sand. She called for Lyra, who brought advanced scanning equipment. It is a rupture, Lyra explained, looking worried. A tear in space like the ones that appeared before. The darkness came. Fear gripped Zara's heart. The darkness, the force that destroyed her homeworld. Was it returning? She called an emergency council. Linda, Seren, Susan, and the other leaders gathered quickly in the Great Hall. The dragons perched anxiously. Outside, peering through the massive windows, we detected a spatial anomaly, Zara explained. It matches the pattern from before the darkness. The elves grew pale with fear. The humans looked confused, having only heard stories of the terrible force that had destroyed the elven homeworld. "What does this mean?" Susan asked. "Is it dangerous, potentially catastrophic?" Serene said, her voice grave. "The darkness travels through such ruptures. It consumes worlds." "What can we do?" Linda asked. "Ever practical. We prepare," Zara said simply. "We cannot run from this earth is our home now. We must defend it." The next days were a flurry of activity. Elven ships arrived, bringing weapons and technology previously withheld from humans. The dragons underwent intensive training, focusing on their elemental powers. Human militaries were contacted, briefed. Prepared, Zara spent hours with the dragons, strengthening their mental bond. According to ancient texts, the royal dragons had once fought the darkness. They had special abilities that could counter its power. Deep in the mountain beneath the sanctuary, Thorn discovered something remarkable. Ancient elven texts spoke of a crystal found only on Earth, a blue stone that absorbed and reflected the darkness. "It's called Athenite," he told Zara. "Humans call it aquamarine. It can be found in these very mountains." Mining began immediately. Humans and elves working side by side, digging deep into the mountain, searching for the precious blue crystal. When they found it, they shaped it into weapons, spear tips, arrowheads, amulets for the dragons to wear. 1 week after the rupture appeared, it grew larger. A swirling vortex of absolute blackness. No stars shone through it. No light escaped it. The air around it seemed to bend and twist. "It is coming," Seren whispered. The dragons grew restless. They knew instinctively what approached their ancient memory, carried the fear of the darkness. Zara spent hours calming them, focusing their energy. That night, as Zara sat with Linda and Mary in their shared home, she felt a strange peace despite the coming danger. "I never thought I would face the darkness again," she said. "My parents died trying to escape it. They saved me and the dragon eggs, but they could not save themselves." Linda took her hand. "You are not alone this time," she said. "You have us. You have the dragons. You have 2 worlds standing with you." Mary nodded, adding, "The darkness destroyed your old home, but it doesn't know what it faces here. Humans are stubborn. We don't give up easily." Zara smiled, grateful for their confidence, but inside she felt doubt. The darkness had consumed entire worlds. How could Earth hope to stand against it? The next morning, the rupture pulsed. A wave of cold energy washed over the sanctuary. Plants withered. Animals fled. Birds fell silent. "It is beginning," Thorn announced. "The darkness tests our defenses." The dragons roared in unison, their cry echoing across the mountains. A challenge. A warning. Human and elven fighters gathered in the valley, a united army armed with Athenite weapons. The dragons took position at the front, Zara standing between them, her silver hair braided for battle, her eyes determined. The rupture expanded. A cloud of darkness poured forth. Not solid, not liquid, but something. In between it moved with purpose, seeking life energy. Now Zara commanded. The dragons attacked first Ember, releasing a torrent of fire that burned white-hot frost, sending ice spears that glowed blue with Athenite power. Spark, generating lightning that crackled with elven magic. The darkness recoiled but did not retreat. It split into tendrils, reaching for the defenders. Soldiers fired Athenite arrows that pierced the darkness, making it shriek in a voice that hurt. The mind Zara closed her eyes, focusing on the mental bond with the dragons. She channeled her energy into them, enhancing their powers. Their attacks grew stronger, more focused. The battle raged for hours, the darkness growing, pushing forward, the defenders holding their ground. Human technology combined with elven magic created shields that the darkness could not easily penetrate. But slowly they were losing ground. The darkness was ancient, powerful, patient. It had consumed worlds. It could wait. Zara felt exhaustion creep into her bones. The dragons, too, were tiring, their attacks growing weaker. She looked to Linda, who stood with the human healers tending the wounded. Her adoptive mother met her eyes and nodded encouragement. There must be a way, Zara thought desperately. The dragons were meant to fight this. That is why my parents saved them. There must be something we are missing. She closed her eyes again, diving deep into the dragon's minds, seeking ancient knowledge. Ember, Frost, and Spark opened their memories too. Her generations of dragon wisdom flowed through the bond, and there she found it. The answer hidden in dragon legend. The Trinity, she whispered, understanding dawning fire, ice lightning. Together Zara called to the dragons, their names echoing across the battlefield. They responded immediately, flying to her side. The three elements must combine, she told them, just as in the ancient times. When your ancestors first fought the darkness, the dragons understood. They had known all along, waiting for her to discover the truth. Zara climbed onto Ember's back. The great dragon spread his wings, rising above the battlefield. Frost and Spark followed, flying in formation. The army below watched in wonder as the three massive creatures soared toward the rupture. Now, Zara commanded. The dragons released their elemental powers, not separately but together. Fire, ice, and lightning spiraled, combined, transformed into a new energy, a blinding white light that struck the heart of the darkness. The darkness shrieked, it coiled, contracted, fighting the light. But the dragons pressed harder, their combined power growing stronger. The rupture began to close. The darkness pulled back, fighting to maintain its hold. Zara felt the dragons weakening, their life force draining. One final push, she urged them. Give everything. The dragons roared in unison, a sound of defiance, of courage, of sacrifice. Their elemental powers flared blindingly bright. The darkness convulsed, then imploded. The rupture snapped shut with a thunderclap that shook the mountains. Silence fell. The dragons descended slowly, their energy nearly depleted. Zara slipped from Ember's back, falling to her knees. Exhausted but triumphant. They had won. Earth was safe. Linda ran to her, gathering her in a fierce hug, tears streaming down her face. I thought I lost you, she sobbed. The humans and elves cheered. The dragons settled around Zara, protective even in their exhaustion. Later, as the healers tended the wounded and the celebrations began, Serene approached Zara. You have done what our entire civilization could not, she said. You have defeated the darkness. Not me, Zara corrected, looking at the dragons, at the humans and elves working together. It was all of us, two worlds united. It was Linda who taught me that family gives us strength. It was Mary who showed me that science and magic can work together. It was the dragons who remembered the ancient way. Siren smiled, her eyes wise. You have created something new here, something precious, a bridge between worlds. Family that transcends species, a love that defeated darkness. As the moons rose over the sanctuary, the dragons recovered their strength enough to perform a victory flight. Their massive forms silhouetted against the stars. Earth was now truly their home, and they would protect it always.